Hey, welcome to my channel. La 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 la. I don't know how to start these videos. As you can tell, this is my first video on YouTube, and let me tell you, it's gonna be a good one. So let me get this off my chest. This is my first channel, my first thing, blah 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 blah. I didn't know how I wanted to start it. I really wanted to make sure that this channel was really reflective of the person I am, obviously, and a huge thing of that is I am all over the place. So I'm gonna do whatever I really feel like doing, and hope you just like it. So for my first video, I wanted to talk about mental health just because it is something really prominent right now. You know, there's gun control, there's drug addiction, there's mental health, which honestly everything kind of comes together. So that's why we're going to talk about it, just because I want to use my own story with mental health, and as somebody who has pretty severe mental health disorders and issues. And side note, I used to work at a child psychiatric ward, so I kind of have an idea of what's going on. So not a doctor, don't fight me on any of this stuff though, because I know what I'm talking about. Otherwise I wouldn't say it. Anyways, I keep seeing really stupid, offensive, rude shit on the internet about the recent Mac Miller death. Part of it is, it's not just Mac Miller either, it's anybody that you hear talking about drugs, anything with that matter. So it's just getting annoying because I really don't think people understand what a mental health disorder is, what even a fucking substance abuse disorder is. So we're just gonna talk about that and dabble in it so we can understand what's going on. So first things first, I just want to say that I have had a lot of experience with a mental health stigma and how it's affected my life. And let me tell you, it's never really been good. It doesn't make the situation any better when people kind of think that you're bullshitting or you're making excuses for yourself, because we're very, you know, we want tangible proof of shit, and feeling under the weather just seems like you're being like a bitch or something. And I get that. I understand the society we grew up in where it doesn't feel right when somebody is like, I can't do that, like I'm not feeling too great today, and it's like, I don't see any broken bones, like what could be wrong with you? And it's that's just not how we should live. We need to be more compassionate, because I don't know, we're literally just put on this earth and like we don't really have to do anything. So I think your own reality is a little bit more important than anything else. So that's why we're talking about this. That's why we're, you know, we got to open up the mental illness discussion firsthand from people like me who deal with it every day. Just so people that, you know, may not have to deal with it every day, fuck you, you suck. Just so they get it, because, I mean, no offense, guys, I just really want you to realize that, you know, we all, every single one of us, deserve to live and deserve to get a chance to bring yourself back to where you want to be. And you are not less of a person if you lose track of yourself for a second, because that's only going to get you to where you have to be. You just have to understand when you lose yourself versus when you're growing, if that makes sense. So with this, if there was no stigma, wouldn't ignore signs, obvious freaking signs that somebody is not okay. For example, people that commit suicide, especially famous people, I'm going to tell you right now, proof is in the pudding for the reasoning of why they do it. And people act confused, and you know, you're right to feel confused and you're right to feel heartbroken, because it is really confusing if you've never been suicidal, but I have. And shit, I can't believe I just said that on camera, but I have been there, and I understand that when you're in that place, you want people to notice. You genuinely want people to notice. But it is terrifying because you don't want to be looked under a microscope and sent away and all this crazy things, and it's really terrifying to ask for help. You need to take it into consideration. So for example, Linkin Park member Chester, he committed suicide, and this really wasn't a surprise to me. If you actually listen to any Linkin Park song, you're like, okay, this guy is obviously in some fucking pain. And that just makes me question, because I didn't look at the situation. I didn't look and see if he was going to a doctor or something like that. But if I ever heard somebody say some of the things that people say in their songs, I would get worried. Like, I would care. And and that's the thing, is I'm not saying that people don't worry and they don't care, but there has to be initiative. You have to make yourself uncomfortable and tell somebody to get help and to offer them help. They're still a person. They are just in pain and they don't know how to cope. And that's the thing that is really serious that I want to talk a little bit about, is the drug abuse portion of mental health. It has to be with something else. People don't just want to do harmful substances. Substance abuse disorder is a form of self-sabotage. Yes, we understand. But that means it's comparable to impulse spending, promiscuous sex. It's compared to getting in fights and radical anger. Like, it's a coping skill, and it's a negative coping skill. But unfortunately, unlike biting your nails like crazy, it is a lot more detrimental. Nobody just wakes up one day and is like, I'm gonna go do meth. Like, people don't think like that. People don't want that for themselves. Anybody would want to wake up sober in the morning and feel good, because then you wouldn't need anything else. And I've never had a drug abuse issue. That's never been a thing for me. However, I have had issues with other things in my life that were a form of self-sabotage. So I can relate to these people. When I hear people, criticizing someone with an addiction issue, it just confuses me, because I'm like, just because your outlet isn't drinking yourself to oblivion or snorting coke, I mean, it is still, everybody has it. And we can all take the steps to make ourselves have better coping mechanisms. You can say, well, like, you can pick to fight for it, or you pick to do the drug, but if you don't see any reason, because it doesn't matter how much you're fighting, there's people that have been sober from these drugs for years that still have to go to meetings, because someday you will wake up and it will feel bad. Okay, it's inevitable, it's life. This form of self-sabotage, specifically being drug abuse, is not anything special. It is still a negative coping mechanism someone is using. So for you to attack them and say that they're just a no-good drug addict and just like shit on them, like, you know what, if I ever hear someone say that, I'm just gonna find what they do as their unhelping coping skill, and I'm just gonna scream at them for that. And it seems stupid, right? Yeah, because it is. And like, I get it, how bad it hurts people, because I have previously had and currently have people that have been addicted to drugs in my life. They are not less of a human being because they do that. They are in pain, they are suffering, and they need help. I cannot explain that enough. They need help more than they need anything else. This brings it to my next issue. If there wasn't a stigma with mental health, people would not be blaming people for someone else's death. Because I can tell you right now that I keep seeing people on the internet blaming, like, Ariana Grande for Mac Miller's death, and I'm heartbroken by that, truly. Like, that is not something she could control. It's really hard to know when to quit on someone like that, because at points, you can only lead the horse to water, you can't make it drink. As sad as it is, some people are never gonna get to the point of understanding that they need to quit and that they can get help. But I'm gonna tell you right now that if they knew what their life could be like otherwise, if they knew that they could get to a place of satisfaction and enjoyment, people don't do that stuff if they saw something else. And unfortunately, a lot of mental health disorders put you in a place that is so dark and so deep, you don't feel like there's ever gonna be a light at the end of the tunnel. And that is a really scary place to be, drugs involved or not. So, one, lay the fuck off, Ariana Grande. because Mac talked about having drug issues before they even got together. In his albums, like if you listen to his music, like everybody knew. So it's not a weight you can ever put on anybody else. And for people out there that are really struggling with somebody they love having a drug addiction, just know that you are trying your best and they probably are too. So if things feel impossible, I'm just gonna tell you right now that mental health is serious. It is so serious. It is somebody's life. Whether they seem good one day and you don't want to bring it up, like you have to. You have to check on someone. You have to be there for your friends. You have to engage in this mental reality that we live in. Take a second to step aside and breathe and realize that maybe, just freaking maybe, you know, we could help each other if we just threw a little bit more love into it, because you only have yourself. And that's true. Even if you have somebody, even if she would have stayed, it's an initiative that you have to take, and the only thing you can do is try to get someone to that point. But if they don't go, you have to let go. Like, it will hurt you. And I mean, until they give up, you don't have to give up. I wouldn't give up. So I just need people to realize that there's much more going on in your surroundings than you think, and in other people's heads. So for a second, when someone makes you angry, or when someone is acting odd, or somebody has an attitude, or someone is just, there's a block in the interaction, just realize that something might just not be right. In one person's head or the other, realities clash sometimes, but if we can try to understand, we're gonna be so much better off. And I don't know, I just really need to get this off my chest. You can't carry other people's burdens, and when you realize and can separate which burden and who it belongs to, the lighter it's gonna get for you, the lighter your load is gonna get. So like I said, just watch out for each other. And with that being said, I think I'm gonna go. I hope we all learned something, and for watching my video. I will be back with more random bullshit that I want to talk about. Like I said, I'm doing whatever I want to with this. So thanks for watching. Follow me on other stuff, which will be down below.